What's up, guys? We're back today with some NFL content, but don't worry, my MLB picks for today are in the pinned comment below and also in a community post every single day. In this video, we are going to break down each team in the AFC South, and I will give you my early week 1 bets for their games. Before we jump into these breakdowns, do me a big favor and hit the like button, guys. It only takes 1 second and it helps out the channel a ton. If you like these videos, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can notify you about new videos and anytime we go live. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports, including NFL Premium preseason content. Get in there for maximum value. Comment below with what you think about these teams or anything that you see coming for this NFL season or any questions you have about the MLB games today. We respond to every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. Now, let's take a look at the Houston Texans, who come into the season fresh off of a pretty successful year last year, guys. They finished things up 10-7. They lost to Baltimore in the divisional round after a very solid wild card win over the Cleveland Browns. So yeah, good stuff out there from the Texans for sure. DeMeco Ryans is now in his 2nd season, and everything for this franchise has to be built now around CJ Stroud. They're de facto, absolutely for sure, guaranteed quarterback of the future, guys. He looked like the absolute truth out there, just killing it. We're hoping to see CJ Stroud build here on an amazing 2023 campaign, and bringing in Stephon Diggs on offense could definitely help them head on up into the stratosphere, and we could also see Stroud being a front runner for MVP. These are all things that are well within the realm of possibility for a long time tortured franchise, the Texans, who really didn't have anything good going after the, disaster departure of Deshaun Watson. So yeah, things definitely looking up here for Houston, who have to feel very, very good coming into the season. There is a ton of hype around this team, which can sometimes be a bit of a problem, but man, with the additions they made to this offense in the offseason, guys, I can totally understand it. I mean, they added in Joe Mixon, which should give them a very reliable running back to take some pressure off of that passing game, which should be even better now with Stephon Diggs out there, and they already had a pretty loaded wide receiver core. How good those guys are is a little bit maybe up for debate, given how great we saw CJ Stroud look. So, whether it's him being great or the wide receivers being great, or hopefully for the Texans fans, a combination of the two, this offense looks very, very good. We also see them shoring up the offensive line there with the addition of Blake Fisher. So that definitely moves this into like a plus level offensive line, at least in my opinion. So things certainly looking up for the Texans here on that side of the ball. Obviously, all the reason in the world out there for them to be optimistic. I mean, you've got CJ Stroud out there. You maybe have a real MVP case for this guy this season. Like, that is not beyond the realm of possibility. Obviously, they've got to keep Stephon Diggs happy. This is a very mercurial, I think, is the way they like to describe wide receivers, and it totally makes sense. I mean, I hope you guys watched that wide receiver documentary on Netflix, by the way. That was very, very well done. But yeah, generally speaking, pretty high here on Stephon Diggs and on this offense. So we'll see what the defensive side of the ball looks like for the Texans this year. I mean, defensive coordinator Matt Burke coming into things. I mean, Houston looks to at least be in the top third of the league on defense this season. That would be a significant, maybe not a huge improvement, but definitely an improvement. Adding Danielle Hunter is going to help this defensive line get even scarier, and that's pretty nice. They were respectable on that side of the ball last season, and it could for sure help. I mean, all the additions and upgrades they're making, definitely a good look for this team, who's going to be a defense to be wary of at least once the regular season starts. I mean, if you can pressure the quarterback a little bit, if you can slow down the passing game a little bit, and maybe, at least slightly contain the run, and you've got this offense on the other side of the ball, guys, ask the Chiefs how that works. If you've got an elite offense and just a decent defense, you can figure some stuff out. You can win some Super Bowls if the situation is right. And I'm not saying CJ Stroud isn't necessarily Mahomes, but I mean, from what we saw last season, he's definitely got the potential to end up being one of the best quarterbacks in the league, at least at the moment. So expecting big things from this offense and kind of big things from the Texans in general here coming into their week 1 matchup. They're going up against the Indianapolis Colts. So a fellow AFC South opponent. So an important game for the Texans right here off the bat. We've got the Texans going on the road in this one. The Colts at home are plus 1.5 or 2. You can find both numbers out there, and we've got an over-under of 48 in this one. A lot of things up in the air for the Colts after a mediocre season last year. We're about to break them down here in just a second, but in this exact matchup, guys, really tough to give you a side in this one. I mean, there's reason to like Houston for sure. There's reason to think the Colts are something of, a dark horse. I think we're going to see a lot of public money on Houston here in week one with all the, all the crazy hype surrounding the Texans in this game. So generally speaking, maybe the tiniest of tiny leans here on the Colts +2, but yeah, not sure yet. No idea. We could end up going with the public here on the Texans, which is definitely what I think is going to happen in terms of public money. In terms of the over-under for this game, we've got an over-under of 48 out there, and I think here in week one, we could definitely see some offenses look a little bit disjointed. We're not sure how much the Texans are going to be really playing anybody in the preseason. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of need for it, so we could see the offense maybe splutter a little bit out of the gate, so maybe take a slight look at under 48 in this one, but overall, guys, this is a game we just have to see a lot more information on before we can give you a strong lean. Next up, guys, as promised, we're going to be looking at the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, Shane Steichen comes into this game leading the way there as their head coach, and at 9-8 last season, they did miss the playoffs, but man, they had their chances to beat out the Texans, and just in general, guys, they had their chances for all kinds of positive stuff last year, and it just did not work out there at the end of the season. They're probably hoping that some, reasonable strength of schedule this year, and the Colts are probably hoping that an easy strength of schedule and the return of Anthony Richardson to health could help this be an impressive 2024-2025 campaign after doing relatively well last year in 2023. I mean, no longer having Gardner Minshew out there as a safety net could be a little bit tough, but Anthony Richardson definitely showed plenty of promise last year. I mean, he's just got to find a way to stay healthy. Maybe we reel back in that physical running style a little bit. I mean, you're going up against much different athletes than you were facing in college, and yeah, that AC joint sprain, he should be okay. I mean, some questions definitely remain about him. There's no doubt about that, but yeah, I do think this is an offense that's being a little bit underrated right now. Nobody really remembers what they saw from Anthony Richardson early last season, and I still think he's got the stuff to be a very, very impressive NFL level quarterback. So gonna have to see what we get from him this season, no doubt about it. Definitely plenty of question marks here, but yeah, Jonathan Taylor having a big season could take a lot of pressure off of him, so that could be a very big deal. And with Zach Moss no longer around, they're really gonna need Jonathan Taylor to stay healthy, which obviously health going to be absolutely key for every NFL team. Like, you can't really absorb too many injuries without it affecting your season. And I don't know, guys, maybe a team that can afford, or at least they did last year, they were able to, put Minshew in there and still finish 9-8 on the season and have a chance to make it into the playoffs, although they did fall short there at the end. But overall, feeling decent, but with a lot of questions about this offense. In terms of their defense, guys, Gus Bradley leading the guys in here, the defensive coordinator, and there's a lot of hype around their number 15 pick, guys, Laiatu Latu, who at defensive end is expected to be a big-time competitor for the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Love this guy. A lot of hype around him, no doubt about it, but I'm expecting great things from him. Could be very, very helpful for this defense. It's going to need to be pretty solid, probably, given what we're expecting to see from this offense. I mean, last season, not amazing, giving up 24.4 points per game, 28th in the NFL overall in that number, but there's definitely hope with some significant additions and a much easier schedule that they could show some big improvement here, which would be very, very welcome news here. I mean, Gus Bradley definitely got to be hoping that this young guy can, be a breakout star here right off the bat, help them pressuring the quarterback and all kinds of other stuff out there. Like, this dude looks like a monster. I think he's ready to play the part. I think he's ready to get out there and look very solid out there on the field. So we'll see what we get from him this season. Obviously, at defensive end, a lot of that raw talent can just pay off immediately. So we could see big stuff from him out there. An 8 or 9 or 10 sack season, like, things could be looking very, very positive for this Colts defense all of a sudden. So we'll see what they get. Things could look very good for their offense as well. So generally speaking, I think the Colts are coming into this year pretty underrated. I don't think that's too hot of a take, but maybe a slightly hot take. Not hating too much here on the Indianapolis Colts. So how do we feel about them in week one? Are we willing to put our money where our mouth is and think they'll have success here against the Houston Texans in their week one matchup? A very important matchup here right out of the gate for these two teams. The Colts being at +1.5 or +2 and getting to play at home is definitely intriguing. I do wish we were getting more like a field goal in this spot. That would make me much more excited about the Colts, but generally speaking, guys, this is just a really, really tough game to figure out here, and any information that we get over the course of the preseason or leading up to, week one of the NFL regular season is definitely going to come into play. But right now, I'm leaning the slightest lean ever, guys, but maybe towards the Colts +2, like I was saying about in the previous breakdown on the Texans, man. Maybe a little bit look at the under too, but I think we're going to see good stuff from the Colts here right out of the gate, and maybe they can give the Texans all that they can handle here in week one. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars, who come into the season fresh off of a 9-8 campaign a year ago. They ended up missing the playoffs in that one. I mean, head coach Doug Peterson has to be a little bit annoyed with how things worked out, but yeah, I mean, last year, just not a great season for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense. There's hope that they'll have a bounce back season. I mean, the additions of Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis should help this team be better on that side of the ball. It's pretty clear that the franchise believes in Trevor Lawrence after handing him that massive contract, so we'll see if he can live up to it behind this slightly improved offensive line. Obviously, keeping him upright is a pretty big deal. This team does have some offensive weapons, don't get me wrong. Maybe not an offense that I'm super excited about, but yeah, I do think there's some positive things to be said about them. I don't think this is going to be, a terrible team. I don't think this is going to be a terrible season here for Trevor Lawrence, a guy that definitely is in need of a bounce back. He needs to show people that, he can still be the real deal. Last season, the running game wasn't amazing at times, and he's not the most mobile quarterback out there, which could be pretty helpful to take some pressure off of some situations. So we'll see what we get from Lawrence and this offense. I do think they're slightly improved from a season ago, and yeah, just another year of experience for Lawrence, I would think would just make him better. So expecting decent stuff from their offense. We'll see what we get from their defense here. We've got a new defensive coordinator in his first season. We've got Ryan Nielsen out there. I mean, with a new defensive coordinator, it is expected to be an upgrade. And adding in Eric Armstead should help as well for a defense that was pretty middle of the pack and needs to show a lot of improvement for this squad to take the next step and compete with a team like the Texans or even a team like the Colts there for a top spot in the AFC South. This isn't a defense that I'm super high on, but I do think we'll see some improvement. They were middle of the road last year, which, while middle of the road doesn't sound amazing, guys, they weren't terrible. Like, this is not an absolute disaster of a defense. So I'm expecting some decent stuff out there from them. A little bit of an improvement for a team that, I think they missed out on some good opportunities, especially late in the season. Yeah, they were just a bit all over the place. So I think we could see this defense help them get things back on track. But a lot is going to boil down to health, and a lot is going to boil down, probably the most, honestly, to whether or not Trevor Lawrence can look like a, maybe not top tier, but at least, upper tier NFL quarterback. So looking at their week 1 matchup, not a cupcake game at all, guys. We've got the Jaguars going on the road to take on the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are minus 3.5 in this game, and we've got an over-under of 49. So odds makers expecting plenty of offense from these two teams here right out of the gate. Generally speaking, I'm not too high on the Jaguars in this spot. I don't know if we're going to get a quick start here from Trevor Lawrence. I'm expecting good stuff here from the Dolphins at home in their first game of the season, and man, playing at Miami can be tough there in week 1 or anytime early in the season. Obviously, a team from Jacksonville should be relatively acclimated to the climate and all that kind of stuff, but man, being on the sunny side of the field in a hot game, something the Dolphins thrive in. Is it something the Jaguars thrive in too? I guess you could make that argument, but overall in this game, guys, I am shading towards the Dolphins minus 3.5 and maybe a little look at that under 49, but not too interested in the over-under yet. And also, guys, obviously keep in mind these are very, very early looks, so we'll see where we actually end up on this one, but right now, not loving the Jaguars' chances. Last but not least here in the AFC South, guys, we're going to look at the Tennessee Titans. They come into the season under head coach Brian Callahan. First season, he was the Cincinnati offensive coordinator last year, so we're expecting decent stuff from him, obviously coming from a spot where he found a lot of success. Maybe not so much success last year with Joe Burrow missing a ton of time, but still a guy that should feel like a decent head coaching candidate. After the Titans went 6-11 last season and missed the playoffs, they can't feel great about that, but they do feel like they've found some positives. I mean, they haven't had great news so far in training camp with DeAndre Hopkins, likely to be out for several weeks with a knee injury that, while it's not going to require surgery, I don't know. The idea is that he's going to be back for week 1. It seems a little bit sketchy to me, but we'll see whether he ends up back there and how effective he can be right out of the gate. Keep an eye on that for your, fantasy draft information there, guys. DeAndre Hopkins being on, a little bit hobbled, only like 1.5 of a leg. That's maybe not somebody you want to be one of your highest picks. But anyway, guys, looking at the real important thing here for this season for the Titans is all this faith they apparently have in Will Levis. This dude, a little dude, but with insane arm talent, and picking up Calvin Ridley and adding Tyler Boyd. This offensive line has to be better. That's been the real problem. I think that's what really has held back Levis. There's lots of questions about this guy, so he could still be not good. That's definitely a possibility out there. I don't think it's impossible that he could struggle, but yeah, picking up a couple very solid offensive options could help. Shoring up this offensive line could help, and this dude can throw bombs out there. No doubt about his arm strength. This guy is a monster, but where is this offense going to fall at the end of the year? Losing somebody like Derrick Henry is not going to help. Can they have a similar running game without him? That seems like a bit of a big ask. I don't know if we're going to see Will Levis running the ball himself very well, and I don't think that's somebody they really look to as, a do-it-yourself kind of guy, but, it's not impossible. He's a fairly mobile quarterback, but yeah, the idea is for him to be airing it out there to DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to need to get healthy. So we'll see what we get from this offense. I think it's pretty volatile. I think we could see them be pretty good. I think we could see them be absolutely terrible as well. So we'll see what's up once the season gets underway. Looking at their defense, guys, we got a first-year defensive coordinator as well in Denard Wilson. It's his first season coming over from Baltimore, so definitely bringing over some winning concepts. Absolutely no doubt about that. He's been talking a pretty big game here coming into the season, and adding guys like Snead from the Chiefs could be a significant help for the secondary. Losing Autry hurts the defensive line, though, and it wasn't amazing already, so yeah, not like they were great last year. So I'm not very high on this defensive line. Denard Wilson coming over for one of the best defenses in the NFL could remake this offense, or this defense, guys. I mean, no doubt about it. Is that going to happen right off the bat? Is that going to happen here in year one? I'm going to have to see it to believe it, guys. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty big ask for somebody to come in and just change the entire culture of an entire unit of a team. They weren't very good last year at all. Obviously, he's not used to that, so maybe he can change that around, but like I said, that is definitely a tall task, especially given the personnel that he's working with. So let's take a look at their week one matchup here. We've got the Titans going on the road to take on the Chicago Bears. The Bears are a team with they've got to be one of the most hyped teams in the NFL coming into the season, and we see Chicago is -4.5 in this game playing at home. So yeah, the hype just continues, guys. Everybody's super high on the Bears. We'll see what actually, shakes out here once the regular season games start. We also got an over-under of 43.5, so a pretty low number. The odds maker's not expecting tons of offense in this one. Obviously, a lot is going to hinge here on the health of DeAndre Hopkins going into week one, and what we're seeing from that Titans offensive line and from Will Levis, if he gets some, preseason run, what we expect to see from him. I do think there's a chance we could like the Titans +4.5 a little bit, but I don't know, guys. It seems like a big ask. I am not that high on the Bears right now, not nearly as high as everyone else, so maybe this is a chance for us to fade a ton of public money that's probably going to be coming in on Chicago. I wouldn't be too surprised to see that. So if we do like the Titans here and the points, I do think there's reason to like under 43.5. That is a very small number, so you could also talk me into the over in this game. Not a big lean on that one, not a big lean on this in general, but I do think the Titans fading the public here could be a reasonable spot. That's everything we have for the AFC South, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have about the NFL this season, and don't forget to check out the community post and the pinned comment for my daily MLB predictions. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.